Welcome back, everyone. Nigerians are no strangers to flooding. In some parts of the country, flooding is an annual event, but intensity varies from one year to the next. The latest flood incident occurred in Benue State, where President Bola Tinubu has ordered the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to assist residents who were victims of flooding in Maiduguri, the state capital. According to NEMA, thousands were displaced in the northeastern states as flood sacked houses and public facilities like schools, hospitals, and business premises. While relevant authorities are still assessing the damage wrought by the flood, the president called for the immediate evacuation of people from affected areas. But in the wake of severe flooding caused by overflowing dams, thousands of displaced residents in the northern part of the country are seeking shelter in public schools under dire conditions, facing hunger and uncertainty. What then can Nigeria do to protect its food security, as beyond climate change, economic downturns and conflict also undermine food stability and nutrition in the country? Tonight, let's speak with Abdullahi Idris, who is a Special Advisor, Communications and Strategy to Kebbi State Governor, as we focus on flooding in northern Nigeria and food security. He joins us virtually from Kebbi State. Alhaji Zuru, welcome to Politics Tonight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Right. So this recent floods in Nigeria, especially in the north, have unveiled a harrowing chapter in the region's ongoing struggle with environmental and humanitarian crisis. But first, talk to us about what the administration of Governor Nasir Idris is doing to avoid a repeat of the flood disaster that happened exactly a year ago when an early morning downpour in Dakingari, that's a town in Suru local government area of Kebbi State, turned into a raging torrent.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to appear on this very, very important program. To start with, let me, on behalf of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, Comrade Governor Dr. Nasiru Idris Kawarangwandu, and the entire people of Kebbi State, commiserate or sympathize with the people, the government and the people of Borno State over the devastating flood that almost swept everywhere, including sensitive places in the state capital. As I'm talking to you now, His Excellency Comrade Dr. Nasiru Kawarangwandu sent a delegation from Kebbi State to go to Borno, sympathize with the government and the people of Borno State over this very, very unfortunate situation they have found themselves in. And even before then, they have sent a message of sympathy to the government and people of Borno State, expressing his concern, serious concern, because what happens to a brother in the Northeast actually affect another one in any part of the country. Just like Kebbi, going back to your question on what His Excellency is doing to checkmate or to prevent early annual reoccurrence of flood in this part of the country. You may wish to be reminded, if you don't know, that Kebbi is one of the, if not the leading rice-producing state in this country, and everybody is aware of that. And on assumption on the office, His Excellency mapped out effective strategies of maintaining that leadership position, and if possible, supersede, if any, that is above Kebbi. What he does is, in Kebbi, rice in particular, we produce rice 3 times a year. Once the rain-fed farming, then wet season, that is wet season farming, irrigation farming, and then the middle one, where after the wet season farming, before the dry season farming, in between the seasons, we have another time for rice production. Aware that is the major source of income of the people of Kebbi State, majority. In Kebbi State, we have more than 500,000 hectares of arable farmland across the river Rhine that produces only rice, apart from those at the upland farmers also produce rice. So rice is the major farm produce being produced by the people of Kebbi State. That does not mean we don't produce others like corn, guinea corn, maize, millet. They are all being produced in abundance because these are the major sources of income to agrarian farmers and to the majority of the people of Kebbi State. What His Excellency did on assumption, he brought large quantity of fertilizer and divided it into three, as I said. First, before the commencement of the wet season farming, he distributed hundreds of thousands of tons to farmers across the state free of charge. That is to say, they will prepare their farms, start preparation of cultivation so that they will get better yield at the end of the season. And thereafter, when the farm produce reach close to maturing stage, then he again distributed thousands of metric tons of fertilizer to these farmers so that they will again apply it in their farms so that they will have better yield and at the end produce more, if not more than the capacity of the farm. That is the second stage. Then the last one, the third one, he also gave them to prepare for the dry season farming, which we are approaching. But unfortunately, very greatly again, the flood that ravaged most part of the rural states, Kebbi has also been a victim of the refugee situation. But like I said,
Alhaji, does this strategy or strategies entail budgetary allocation to cover erosion mitigation? Because it was important to start from there, because I remember that the chairman of that local government, Lawal Suru, accused this administration of negligence. Sadly, that disaster happened on September 3rd, 2023, which swept away over 50 houses, damaged businesses worth millions of naira, and claimed the lives of people, despite warnings from the relevant agencies about the impending floods. The Kebbi State government allegedly did not allocate funds for flood and erosion mitigation in its first quarter 2023 budget implementation. So what exactly has changed in the last 1 year?
A lot has changed, and I'm sure whoever made that allegation, he may be either ignorant or he did it based on some sentiments, but not based on reality. Like I said, on assumption, the first sector of economy given priority by Kwara administration is agriculture. Ask anybody, go to anywhere, find out. Having said that, flood in this part of the country, particularly in Kebbi State, has been really occurring over the years. Over the years. It is not happening now during Nasiru's administration, and it is not going to continue during his administration by the special grace of God. Adequate financial budgetary allocation has been made into erosion control, in addition, that is in the state budget, in addition to the support and complementary gestures from the federal government on erosion control in the country. So if you go to all part of this state where erosion is increasing, you will see a lot of work going on, controlling the irrigation, repairing the damaged government institutions, providing shelter to the affected people, and encouraging them by providing them another source of income. That is to say, a loan, palliative, just to ensure that they did not suffer unnecessarily. You see, government, there are a lot of demands, competing demands in government, in the governance of anywhere, either federal, state, or local government. But this administration of Nasiru Kaurangwandu has specifically singled out agricultural sector for serious and better attention.
All right. All right, I mean, we'll fact check these claims, but let's talk about Benue State. This current flooding in Benue State has displaced, according to NEMA, over 200,000 residents. This flood was caused by the collapse of Alau Dam. I'm asking, couldn't this be avoided?
Well, it could have been avoided, though I am not in Maiduguri, I'm not in Borno State, but I've stayed here for a long time. There are federal government agencies that do give notice of possible occurrence of this type of incident. Unfortunately, maybe, I don't know, if they have not done that, and then the government could not take immediate action to check possible occurrence, then it's another thing. But I doubt if there is any government, any responsible government that will allow deliberately this type of disaster to occur. It is natural. It is natural sometimes. You see, these very big dams all over the country, when they are overloaded, they explode, they discharge. Then in the process, a lot of things got damaged. Farmlands, houses, business places, and all other infrastructure along the routes. So I think it can be checked if the relevant government agencies responsible for checking it and alerting the public, if they have done their proper work and did that, this wouldn't happen. Even if it happened, it will have minimal effect.
Alaji, I want to agree with you, but agreeably, this flooding disaster underscores the urgent need for comprehensive disaster management and sustained support for affected populations. And, you know, experts have stressed the need for more efforts from state governors to tackle flooding. Are northern governors doing enough?
Governments, various governments are doing their own way. They are doing it in their own way. But in Kebbi State, like I can assure you, excuse me, Governor Nasiru Idris Kaurangondu is giving that area another special attention. Like the incident in Suru, where the flood washed away a complete bridge, thereby cutting off part of that state from the other part of the state. As at the time it was happening, he was told and he rushed down. It happened in his presence, under his watch. That is to say, he has concern over something. These things cannot be controlled immediately. Sometimes it has to do with the designs of infrastructure, possibly not properly done, or possibly not given the right quantity of materials that needs to be provided to ensure standard construction. These are all issues, and this is why I want to tell you, every contract being given to contractors in Kebbi State today, His Excellency is one of the engineers that is supervising, identifying loopholes, identifying problems in such projects, and immediately draw the attention of the contract to either repair it or the contract will be revoked.
Alaji, let's take a break. Let's take a break at this moment, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation. Please stay with us, everyone. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Tonight, we're focused on flooding in northern Nigeria and food security. And I've been speaking with Abdullahi Idris Zuri, the Special Advisor, Communication and Strategy to Kebbi State Governor. Alaji, thank you for staying with us on the program. Let's talk about security implication of climate change like flooding. How critical is it for a country like Nigeria?
Honestly, it is a very serious issue. particularly food security. Now, like I told you earlier, we have more than 500,000 hectares of farmland that are being cultivated annually by our rice farmers. Now, with this flood, over 30% of what has been produced or what has been cultivated has been washed away. 30%. And this does not affect only those along the river line. Even the upland farmers, where the flood could not reach, the windstorm has equally destroyed not only the farms, even the houses. The houses of most of these farmers has been destroyed. You may need to be informed. Our farmers, most of them at the boundary of Niger and Zamfara State, recently went back to their farms because before now they have left the farm because of banditry activities. But with the efforts made by the governor in providing adequate facilities, vehicles, patrol vehicles to each of the security agencies, Department of State Service, the Nigerian Police, the Nigerian Army, the Vigilante, were all provided with support financially and materially to curb the essence of armed banditry in the neighboring part of the state, in Kebbi State, neighboring with the places that are affected. So they have now moved to their farms, but the flood now has ravaged the areas, destroyed the farms that they have started cultivating before just this year, as a result of recovery of such places by the security agents. Not that there is no problem of security in Kebbi State now, but it has been reduced to minimum standard. You understand? Right. It has been reduced drastically. And the purpose to now look at where are they going now? Farms have been washed away, their houses destroyed, their only sources of income has also been destroyed, the marketplaces. So the quantity of food being produced annually will drastically reduce.
But Alaji, one thing we can now say about the National Meteorological Agency is that communication has improved. Before now, Nigerians used to complain about how there was no early warning system in place for floods. But then, historically, Nigeria has been more focused on post-disaster flood response than control. For you, what needs to change?
What needs to be changed is not only raising alarms from Abuja, telling people that they should be careful, they should do this and do that. No, I want to suggest that let them have their functional offices in all the states and even in disaster-prone areas, so that they will be getting on-the-spot assessments, regular report on the situation on the ground, so that they will be able to prepare to confront the situation when it comes. So that is what is, I think, to me, is needed to checkmate the annual reoccurrence of this devastation of our lands, of our food crops, of our infrastructure by flood and windstorm.
Right. When it comes to flood mitigation, there have been talks about river dredging, raising house foundations and the likes. But I'm worried that all we constantly talk about is evacuation of people. How does government address human-induced causes of flooding? Talk about rapid urbanization, poor planning, and poor solid waste management, including drainage systems being used at dump sites.
You see, it all needs enlightenment, a regular enlightenment on the implication of such action, on the implication of neglecting your area to be facing this type of problems. Let me give you an example. Before the commencement of this wet season, all the culverts, all the drainages in major towns of Kebbi State have been cleared with the instructions of His Excellency the Executive Governor. He provided enough funds that before the rain set down, all those waterways, drainages, culverts, big bridges be cleared so that when the water comes, it will pass through. That is their way. But the situation, and that has drastically reduced the problem of destruction of buildings, particularly in the state capital. That has been done. So what is required is enlightenment, public enlightenment on the implications of allowing your drainage passing through your house to be congested so much so that when the water comes, it could not find its way, it will move to your house. And that causes a lot of problems.
All right. In that regard, let's talk about Nigeria Basin Authority. Is the agency still functional? I mean, in situations such as this, what role can the Basin Authority play?
Well, I don't know what they are doing. I am not aware, or I'm not conversant with their activities very well. I don't know their plans. I don't know how they are carrying out their job. But certainly, they need to do a lot. I know they have offices like Sokoto River Basin. They have offices, and in almost all the states, their catchment areas, they have offices. But like I said earlier, what is required is public enlightenment. Government will continue to be spending money without result if people that are directly affected did not contribute or cooperate with the government officials in checking such menace. So the basin authorities, like I said, I'm not conversant with the way of operation. I'm not conversant with how they are doing their job.
All right.
But certainly, there is need for proper, adequate enlightenment of the citizenry.
Let's talk about farmers, because more than 80% of Nigerian farmers are defined as smallholder farmers because the size of your farmland is less than 5 hectares. I mean, I stand to be corrected. And they cultivate, process, and eat directly from their farms. These smallholder farmers are also often the worst affected by flood disasters as they lose their primary source of income. They have limited financial protection, so they lack the resources which would enable them to purchase food, seed, or seedlings. What more can northern governors do to mitigate these hardships caused by the aftermath of these disasters?
Well, when we say northern governors, there are about 19 northern state governors. Because for me, I can only talk about one northern governor, and that is Comrade Governor Nasiru Idris Kwara, where we are based here. I know, like I told you earlier, he has made adequate preparation even before the wet season set up. This category of farmers you make mention, smallholder farmers, they were the ones that were given priority in the allocation of farm inputs. In addition to that, as a result of high cost of petroleum now, the government decided to bring powered generator. I mean, what do you call them? Solar-powered irrigation machines that can now provide water for irrigation with or without electricity. And that has increased their production, that has increased their source of income, that has increased the output they are producing to enable them have a very, very good harvest at the end of the day. So that is why I say I'm talking about my governor, the measures he has taken. Other northern state governors have their own different ways of doing things, but these ways being implemented, this program being implemented by Governor Nasiru Kwara.
All right, Alhaji, thank you. You know, just like I said earlier, and we've also emphasized tonight, Nigerians are not strangers to flooding, so we'll continue to have these conversations. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's a 30-minute conversation tonight. I've been speaking with Abdullahi Idris Zuru, Special Advisor, Communication and Strategy to Kebbi State Governor. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
And thank you so much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight, but you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone.